calling all millionaires and future millionaires. Welcome to Go to Millions. I'm Ari Murray. Nice to meet you. This is go-to-market strategy for the big dogs. Woof, woof. Sit back, relax, or go get your steps, or add stuff to your cart. That's 100% what I recommend you do. Whatever you do, please pay close attention to these million-dollar ideas from the biggest and baddest operators and founders in the entire world. Off we go.
Hi everyone, this was a virtual event that I recorded with Shray. He is in charge of marketing, VP marketing at Kaged, one of the baddest brands out there, and he's also a Tapcart customer. On this episode, you're going to hear all about Shray's tactics, all about how he got here, where he's going, and how he thinks about marketing, and you're going to learn a lot about Kaged. Off we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, millionaires, so I'm going to let you in on a little secret today. Do you want to know how Kaged app's conversion rate is 353% higher in-app versus mobile web? Insane. With Tapcart, Shray was able to create a seamless mobile experience that skyrocketed user retention rates. Try it for yourself by visiting tapcart.com/millions. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Ari. This is Go to Millions. I want to introduce you to my friend Shray. Shray, come on out. Lots to talk about. Hi.
What's going on?
Happy Tuesday. How are we doing?
Good. I'm in New York for the week, so you know how it goes. Just like back to back, moving everywhere, meeting everyone. But I'm in your guys' office right now, just kind of bumming it out while I take a bunch of calls. And then I think we're going to like Korean barbecue tonight, so good day.
That's a great day. I would like photos. Well, I've got lots of questions for you, so we'll take it right off. How did you get into this industry? Was it intentional, or did you fall into all of this?
So I actually used to be a nutritional biochemist by trade, and I started my like career off in psychology. Was like super overweight. Basically, it was like close to 800 pounds. It was like 260, 270 pounds. Like and a 42 pant size, and it was ridiculous. And so when I was in college, I really wanted to understand like diet, nutrition, psychology, biochemistry. So I ended up kind of focusing on that, learn through just like mostly health and wellness that will like just by living a better lifestyle, eating better and moving more, like that's all 90% of your problem. And so in all of that, I ended up losing about like 120 pounds, 120
That's
pounds.
amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And I ended up kind of like graduating with a biochemistry degree, mathematics and psychology. So like absolutely kind of like loved the space in terms of like health and wellness and nutrition. Didn't really understand what I wanted to do in terms of like where that kind of flowed through from a work perspective. So shout out a doctor, worked at GNC, the like supplement store. And then also was like freelance consulting and kind of helping my friends also get healthy. I ended up like falling in love with the path at GNC and kind of like understanding like the scale and impact that kind of being one of those like bigger organizations had, even if I was just on like the sales side in terms of like affecting people's health and wellness in like in the right way versus just like a bunch of medications and steroids. And so that was kind of like my like, entrance into like consumer side. I ended up then also being like a science nerd, like drinking a bunch of coffee all the time, like ripping caffeine like it was, you know, like water at that point. And one of my friends in college introduced me to matcha like 6-7 years ago. Fell in love with it. I was like, all right, like one part of it is like the health, the wellness, the like, kind of like exercising, eating right. And like the other part of like now there's a new part of my health journey is like reducing anxiety, like mental health, etc. And like matcha like got me basically down on all of my coffee, down to like 1 to 2 cups of matcha a day. Like never felt better. And so I was like, how the hell is like, why is like not all of America drinking this product? So like after college, applied to every matcha company, which really just means like 4 in the US.
More now.
Yeah, exactly. A couple more now. But I ended up getting a job at a company called Cha Cha Matcha here in New York. A couple of weeks later, kind of moved down and like started my career in CPG. So I was at Chacha Matcha, then was head of marketing at a company, or head of growth at a company called Nugs, a plant-based chicken nugget company that blew up a couple of years ago. Most recently was running up all things like digital and growth at Healthy Reacha. And then now I have my own company called Good Peeps, where we help a bunch of brands with either kind of the retail marketing, their brand marketing, or the DTC marketing.
I love that because you kind of took a problem, then you found your own solution, then you helped other people find their own solution, like one-to-one. And then at scale now, you're like, okay, this now I've like mastered myself, and now I've mastered like how to help one-to-one. And then how can I help on a more big time scale, which is what you're doing now. But it's still the same, like you're not selling Cheetos, you're selling food, matcha.
Exactly.
No, I love that. I think that the like med school or like that track turned into the marketing track speaks to me because I'm a law school dropout. So I am also in that. Like, I was going to be something else, but then it didn't work out and I made a quick pivot. It's worked out now.
Awesome.
So when your first week or first month or that first journey with Chacha Matcha, what was that experience like going from not being specifically in marketing to having to help lead a company?
I think with Chacha, this is like during the era where like performance marketing, DTC, like Facebook was on fire, 20x ROAS. But like Chacha wasn't one of those companies that like just wanted to be an advertising business. They were like truly one of the few like brands that were being built in New York. And so like Chacha had like an amazing social presence. Like even today, like even if we just post a picture of like one of our drinks, it still gets like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 likes. It's ridiculous. Like brands try to pay for this, they try to hack this. Like, and what Chacha did was just like we focused on like really amazing content marketing from an organic perspective. Really great brand collabs. Like we did collabs with Ray-Bans, with Nike, with like Virgil did our first round of like merch, and he's the guy who came up with the actual like tree that, you know, is our logo. We also did collabs more recently with, and this is kind of, you know, beyond my time, but like with Tiffany and Co. and kind of other brands like that. So it's like it elevated the brand from kind of just like taking advantage of the brand that other people built. And then like I think what the founders did an amazing job from their network and their relationships is like we also just had this like insane celebrity presence that like absolutely blew it up for us on the PR's perspective. So rather than requiring, you know, do some gimmicky thing that then grabs attention and throw it up into PR. Like if you even just like Google Chacha today, like one of the things that you'll see is that like Bella Hadid goes to Chacha, Kendall Jenner goes to Chacha, like Justin Bieber's favorite matcha spot. And so like we really position the brand from our owned content, our partnerships, and our influencer as it's just like amazing elevated brand with like this beautiful aesthetic that like you had to try, you had to go and buy. So like Chacha was, you know, really big retail cafe business. And you found that like so many people that came to Chacha were just like people coming from like out of the country or just like visiting. And we had like like people like I would go work out in cafes, and like there were times where like people from like Japan or people from like South America were like, yeah, like this was one of the spots that like when we came to New York, we knew we needed to visit because of exactly.
That's really
so like that like was like a real quick deep dive into like unique, you know, brand marketing. And I think that like that business did a great job of like increasing the bar for like, okay, like how do we do things that are really unique and cool, but also like garner distributed attention that like many people talk about and like have like a little bit of like almost like virality built into it, but with like a longer tail in terms of like it being something memorable versus it being kind of like a flash in the pan.
And so now you're currently working on a bunch of things. So Good Peeps and Kaged, investing, advising. You are busy. What are you working on now that's like really got you excited?
At the end of the day, like the reason that Good Peeps exists is like what I saw for Health Aid was it was either like go join another brand, go start a consulting business, where it was just kind of me on my own, go start my own thing. I got like really good advice that like I'm too stubborn to be a really great corporate executive. And I'm not like, I'm just like too opinionated to be at a great org. And so like, I just kind of started like organically doing the consulting thing. And ended up just like finding out that like the brands that we were working with were just like overly complicating their marketing from an internal perspective. And I had a bunch of friends at brands that like I worked with that I really respected that were like dying from internal processes and egos and all of that. And so like, really quickly did I just like pull a friend here, grab a brand here, kind of, put the teams together, and like it just kind of like naturally grew. But like the core desire and like the reason that like I started the business was like to do really fun, interesting marketing. Like I think that like so much of like this business and category is like agencies trying to scale by offering, a couple of services that are like very playbooky. And like our business model is like, we're not going to try to have 600 brands under the world. I don't want that to happen. Like I want us to work on like 4 or 5 brands at a time, go really deep with that, like own all the parts of marketing, and then kind of, like build those great brands that like are cohesive, connected, tell really great stories in like really unique ways. And so like, I'm still like, just even being CEO, I'm like building out the team to, like close to 10 people now. Like even then, like I still am like in the operator seat and like, in those meetings and running a lot of the strategy as well as a lot of the execution. Cause like just inherently, like I just love marketing. Just like love being in the weeds and staying sharp. And then like the other parts of my days, outside of like working on client stuff, working on internal stuff in terms of like, workflow and process with the team is like you said, like we also advise and invest in a bunch of other brands. And so helping those brands out under a portfolio, I have a bunch of calls with our clients on that list. And then we're also starting to build our own fund as well. And start to take bigger chunks and kind of bigger bets on the brands that, we've been able to invest in. So we have a great portfolio and that's continuing to scale. And like my constant desire, like I just wish I had more money to be able to like go deeper on this bet. And a bunch of people are always like, well, how did you get into that deal? Like, I wish I was able to invest in that. And I was like, oh wait, cool. Like I'm just going to like start a fund, take those bets. And since we're running the marketing, and that's like really the differentiator for most brands at this point, outside of like other about like 3PL supply chain, we're basically just taking a bet on ourselves to be able to execute and like scale the business that we operate.
I mean, it's a smart model, especially because if you are going to put all your heart into the marketing, then imagine what happens when you can also help to like sit on that side of the table. So I love that.
Exactly.
Okay. So one other question for you. If you could recommend one piece of media, it could be a podcast, someone to follow, or a brand you look up to, for the millionaires to consume that would help them to level up and to learn more, what would you choose?
I'm going to shamelessly plug some friends, and then I'm going to shamelessly not. And then I'm going to then call out other people that I also like follow. Like in terms of like newsletters, podcasts, obviously go to Millions. Great. I like follow it, listen to it, open every single email. Charma, his newsletter crushes it. All things, anything coming from Charma brands. Cody, his newsletter, super tactical, super helpful. Cody, his newsletter. Ron and Ash, the Aussie boys on all things Twitter, like that just group, that community. That's just like you getting like the business deep dive on all things like DTC, performance marketing, like branding, etc. Kendall, who is like the social layers, like follow her on Twitter. Like literally just like a ways. Tommy Clark, who's also like most recently was the head of social at Triple L. He started his own agency. Like that's like the best way to just like get like a bunch of like useful tactical information in terms of how to operate like a digital business. And then in terms of like more vision, mission, like bigger picture thinking, a podcast that I love is How to Take Over the World. I forget who produces it. I think he's the guy who's also on My First Million, which is also a great podcast, and anyone should listen to that. But How to Take Over the World was like long, like excerpt fun. These like world leaders, and like rather than like making them into like these blockbuster films and like overly dramatizing them, it just kind of like flows through that individual's like life story and like key points and like some decisions they made and how they operated the business and how other people looked at them, as well as Founders. I think there's a podcast on Spotify I listen to all the time. again, it's like more of a mindset and like moments in life pod that like for me help get myself like out of the weeds and like think bigger picture and like get back to doing the things that like will really drive the business forward, which is like teams, hires, direction.
That was a hell of an answer. I love that. On Take Over the World, I'm going to listen to that because I would love to learn how to do that. And I think that's a perfect list. And it's also a lot of friendly faces, which is kind of what happens when you find one of these people, you then find another, and then everyone's actually so nice in real person, like in real life. So I love that list. How do you think about balancing form and function when you're thinking about Kaged? So let's talk about Kaged website.
I think that so many brands overly focus on the design and the aesthetics of their website. It's so over-engineered and has so many bells and whistles that you're now more focused on like, or the consumer becomes more focused on like the colors, the random imagery, etc.
Right.
Versus like really understanding like the product, what it does for you, and like what the brand promises are. And so what I always think about, and this is kind of connected to my days from when I was at GNC, was like when I was doing one-to-one selling, so much of what I was trying to do was first understand the consumer and their like pains and their needs, and then like me positioning the solutions in a way that didn't feel super salesy. And so what I actually don't do for like almost all of our websites is like I'll just go call, like it sounds psychotic in practice that I do it, is I'll go call 100 friends and I will literally go and pitch them on like, hey, I have this brand Kaged, or I have this brand Flying Embers, I have this brand Chomped. Chomped is a great example. Like we just redid their website. And it's like, we sell meat sticks. What do you want to know? And like, yeah, and like, what do you want to know? And like, what are the questions that you have about the products? And what you'll see that is like, even on the Chomped website or the Kaged website, we very like masterfully tell that story and present the information in a way that right as you're thinking about these questions, you're trying to understand more about it. We just place in the content block that the goal is to answer that question before you can formulate the question yourself. But leaves like no room for the consumer just kind of feeling lost or just like getting kind of lost in the design elements of it. And like for Kaged, for example, like since so much of the category that is like supplements, health and wellness, diet, it's such a personal conversation to be had. And so I really want to focus on like, what are your goals? Like, are you trying to like build muscle? Are you trying to lose weight? Do you have any allergies? Like what time of the day do you work out? Like the questions I would ask to my friends, I provide that as an experience for the consumer on web. Like our senior director of e-commerce is currently working on probably the most legit quiz of all time. And then when it gets launched, I'm super excited to like show it to everyone. But it essentially is like, we want to be those curators, like health and wellness content, but also like products that like completely fit your unique mold. And so like that's what we focus from a web experience perspective.
The costs of staying relevant in an overly competitive D2C market are only growing higher in today's economy. But one thing is clear, customer retention is essential to success. The Kaged app was able to earn over 20% of its revenue by reimagining the app experience using Tapcart. Ready to see what it can do for your company? Get started by visiting tapcart.com/millions and get your first month free. I think that's one of the best tips I've heard in a long time, or calling your friend and asking that. So this is the product. Like you're not asking hypothetical questions. You're like, okay, this is my little 5 facts. Now, what didn't I tell you that you would want to know? And then answering it with content. That is a great strategic, applicable way to take it section by section, module by module. And like you're gonna maybe even stack rank it where the question that gets asked the most is where you put it higher. And I'm gonna steal that. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So as digital marketers, we're only as good as our tech stacks. How do you think about evaluating new technology for Kaged and then for just other brands in general?
Yeah, I think it depends on the business. So like we have some brands that are just quite honestly super retail heavy. Like Chomped, for example, while it was like a digital first business, they're well over a 9-figure brand. and retail is really driving a lot of that volume. Most of my game is getting useful consumer insights at that point. And letting that really guide a lot of the targeting. And so we'll work with teams like Numerator, IRI, Nielsen, Spins, all those guys that kind of demystify a lot of what's going on in the retail stores, because obviously there's a lot of data protection, as there should be, so that we don't get to a point where you're getting an ad for everything that you think about before you even think about it. Like, there needs to be kind of those walls of separation, but with like really helpful kind of like what's called velocity data, consumer insights, media engagement studies, et cetera. Like, we rely on those partners to really like help us understand if we actually buying our category, our product, our competitors even. And so we kind of lean in heavier on those guys' mixed model analyses. For those like DTC heavy brands, that's for just like, you're a kid in a candy shop on the Shopify app store. But the things that we really like focus on is like, no matter what, every single one of our brands has lifetimely in there. Obviously, we know that the customer acquisition costs are getting higher for the average brand because all things iOS 14 and social is only getting harder to really stand out. And so like retention just becomes ever so more important. And lifetime, we just does a great job. Like, it's insane that I'm like, it's one of those like products where I'm like beating myself up because I didn't come up with the idea and build it first. So we use that all the time. We also use like an attribution software, depending on the size of the business, how that be Triple Whale, Measure, Northbeam, whatever have it be, to just kind of like gut check and validate what we're doing from a media perspective. Like, cool, Facebook's telling me this. One of these attribution softwares is telling me this. If I go like, spend into it, is Facebook more, are we actually like driving incremental efficiency? Or is that just Facebook over attributing it because of, attribution, view through, et cetera? For the app, or for like the app space outside of that, like, we actually do use like Tapcart on a lot of our brands. Like Kaged, for example, has like legit, like the craziest apps ever. Like what we've done is like basically reimagine the app experience outside for Tapcart, where that isn't just being like, cool, let's take our like shopping experience on our website and just like kind of force it into the app and just have like less clicks to purchase. We went about it where it's like we revamped that whole thing where it has like transformation challenges, it has like content, it has like customer reviews, product education. And so like we've turned it into more of this like ecosystem of like, rather than needing the email channels, your SMS channels, the blog, social, like to get all of that information, like for our hardcore consumer, like we've just consolidated everything into this one place where like, rather than like kind of these like infrequent, but consistent messaging points that you get from like email or SMS or social, like you can kind of build a library that like similar to how like on YouTube, where like you start like looking up like did we actually like land on the moon, and then you watch like 9 hours of like conspiracy theory videos. The app allows you to do that and like get really immersed and engaged, and like you have like a plethora of content to go about just like digesting and understanding. So like for the consumers that want to be a VIP or just like a brand promoter, we just make it super simple on the app. Other apps, like I'm gonna like also make some shameless plugs because I'm an advisor to some of these guys. Postscript, every single one of our clients uses Postscript. I think it's like just by far the best SMS tool in terms of like one, like its actual like function and pricing. But two, I think like one thing that like Alex and Mike and the rest of the guys on the team do an amazing job for all of our brands. Like out of any tech client that we work with, they are so good at just like building connections with our brand and really being like useful customer support and service agents for the brand to like but unlock additional things. Like we also use a Kendo in all of our brands, a couple of other guys, but yeah, I'm not going to try and into a whole spiel.
No, I love it. I think what you said on the app side around making it a place for all of that content and information, it's kind of its own. And when you can create your own world where even on Instagram, even if you have the best organic social, you still like, it's so easy to go and move to a different profile, but you would have to quit the app and like go back to your home screen and look around, and that just doesn't happen on mobile web browser. So big fan. So LTV and revenue by channel, forever on my mind. Does Kaged app impact the mix of like, do you see different results from different channels when you're thinking about the app?
The app is cool because like what it lets you do is like email has a great conversion rate. And like, even for us, like we have like a pretty insane open rate, like 20 to 40% of the emails, but you're still leaving like 70, 60 to 80% on kind of the top. And so we're not able to capture all the attention. And then like SMS just has like all the attention, but like a lower like click through and like kind of less volume in terms of like just dollars generated. Cause like an SMS list is harder to really like scale unless you're kind of like going about growth hacking it. And so it's like our app kind of just has like the benefit of like push notifications that garners like the open rate of a text, but then like the dynamic content and the imagery and the ability to scroll through a lot of content that an email would have. And so like that kind of like mix of like crazy open rates and like great content that you can like scale to the audience has like 100% like helped us in terms of like increasing LTV for the audience that comes through the app. Like I think the LTV of the audience that comes through our app is like of our top like 5 or 6 audiences, depending on how you cut it up and kind of distribute your segments like across the total business. So yeah, like app LTV, ridiculous. Revenue, like surprise, like the app does like over 10% for us in terms of like just DTC revenue.
I think that what you said about being able to reach them on SMS, that's the beauty of SMS, and then the long-form content of email, and then being able to like merge it. It's the hell.
Yeah, merge them.
Yeah. So a few more fun questions. So online shopping happens on your phones. How do you think about mobile experience? Because everyone's buying from their phones.
When we're going about web builds, when we're going about landing pages, when we're going about emails, my team knows, like, do not show me in desktop first mock-up for anything. Like, everything is mobile, and so much of, like, mobile experiences are usually the best piece of advice I've given to any of our brands as we've gone through like help their website is build a mobile experience that is familiar. Like you'll see a lot of brands taking huge bets on their websites where it's like a completely different experience and it almost turns more into like an art project where your customers are trying to figure out how to engage with the website. We say like use best practices when it comes from like a UX perspective and then make it your own through the art direction, the photography, your actual like type and your tone of voice, as well as like injecting 3 to 5 like memorable moments on the website, and like you will have that customer and that conversion rate will just like skyrocket. Because the worst thing that you could do is provide a stale like all white black text couple of images experience because it's just it's not engaging enough. And you don't want to go like color vomit where you just can't kind of digest anything.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to just like, you're overloaded and your circuits are overloaded. It's like, make it so that it's a website that looks like a lot of the other websites that are out there. And like take the learnings from the brands that have way more money than you. Like go take insights from Warby Parker, go take insights from Casper. Like you could take a lot of their web elements and introduce them into your product, your category, and then make it your own. Like I think like tools like Replo is like so helpful, or like services like Hooks are so helpful because like you guys do a great job of just like cool. Like let's really just like figure out what's the best like UX and UI, and like just brand it in the way that like it is for Chomped or that it is for Kaged, and like it keeps the brand ethos like perfectly in line with what we're trying to represent ourselves. But like it's still at the end of the day optimizing for conversion rates, because like you're not going to be able to like build a business off of vibes. Like it needs to be off of like sound, reasonable growth. And like at the end of the day, you just need to optimize for conversion rate. And so you have to fill that balance.
I don't know if I prefer color vomit or optimize for vibes, but this is perfect advice. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So at GoToMillias, we're big online shoppers. What is on your wish list, or what have you recently bought that you want to tell us all about? It's a hard question.
Okay. So my bougie. Yeah.
Bougie's
This is like my extreme bougie thing. Yeah. So like there's this app called Bezel, and it lets you buy like watches through the app. And it's basically like the StockX for watches. Like the watch market's been like absolutely pumping. And so I had my eyes on like an AP above the road. Yeah, exactly. And so like when I can and I pay my taxes, I'm going to go and buy and sell. Just it's absolute crazy watch. But in terms of brands that are top of mind, and I forget the brand name, but I think it's called Higher Dose, but they have like a heat therapy cover that like basically like lets you have like a sauna at your house. And I'm like sick and tired of like traveling 30 minutes to like use a sauna, and I don't want to spend $4,000 on one. Yeah. And so like they have one of those. I think I'm going to try to buy one of those soon. I just bought a Beast Health Blender.
Ooh,
thing's amazing. Yep. My Instagram pictures look phenomenal. And then let's see what else. I don't know. I'm just like so basic on like such like a Nike fiend, so I have like a bunch of shoes there. And probably like my favorite purchase that I've made in the past like months would probably be like I've like now just exclusively started wearing True Classic tees, and like just like removes another decision in my day.
I am trying to get my husband to be like a black t-shirt guy. Everyone in my life is a black t-shirt guy except for him, but I look forward to the day, and I'll keep buying them. They just sit there, and he's wearing like a logo, but I'm like, come on, we're gonna get there. So I love those.
Just move to New York finally, get out of Texas, and then he'll start
very Texas. Yeah, we gotta tone it down, but we'll work on it. Last question for you: when you think about your start, is there one person you want to thank?
Yeah, that's two. And they're actually both in this office right now.
Okay.
Nick, all day. That dude's been like my best friend since we were like 14. The reason that I was able to say that I wanted to move to New York was because last minute he let me stay at his house, and we had like the best night ever. And like that really changed my way of like being like where I wanted to be, like where I wanted to be and like where I wanted to go. And he was like an amazing talk in terms of us building this like first group of like the New York homies that kind of started 3-4 years ago. That like a lot of the brands and businesses that like we're operating, advising, and investing in came from that OG squad that we built. Yeah. And then Scott Swanson. I like learned all things performance marketing from him, just literally like opening up Facebook ads library, just showing me how it worked. And like without those two guys, like it would not have like it wouldn't have like one put me in the right direction, but like two, like being around those guys was like open up your view on like what is possible and what was back in the day. And so like those two people, just huge shout outs to them. Oh, and one other person, Alvin Lammers. He was my boss at Health Aid, and he was the wizard. He showed me all things like retail, as well as like really redefined the way that I go about at Good Peeps, managing the team, building culture. I think that like so many people in startups get burned because like, you know, early stage founders that are building their first company is just like a bunch of blind leading the blind. And he was like the first person in my career that really came from bigger businesses, bigger brands, and like kind of like reframed my understanding of like leadership, coaching, mentoring.
Love
so, yeah. Those three people.
Those are great answers. I think the Nick Scott duo is a perfect answer. And yeah, Nick's like my whole life. And then Scott, I can't think of a single better person to learn paid media with. So good choices. This last thing, plug yourself, tell the go-to millionaires where to find you. Tell everyone what you're doing and like your
So LinkedIn is like where I show off the most right now. And I like feel kind of like an old person saying that.
That's
like,
my kind of face for with you.
Okay. And then like I'm trying to get better at Twitter. So like you can find me on both. Just look up Shray Joshi. I'm like the only one DTC for all of that. So trying to scale up on Twitter there. And then if you want to go see all things like Good Peeps and what we're up to, thepeeps.co is our website, like THEPEEPS.co. is our current website, because I'm trying to buy goodpeeps.com from this dude. But he's a dude who's like going across the US on like mountain trails. And it's his current it's his blog that's like basic HTML. And so trying to get that, but in the meantime, the Peeps is our current website.
Love. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everyone for listening. This was super fun, and I will see you very soon. Bye guys. Thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure talking with you. Keep up to date with Go to Millions by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. And if you learned something with us here today, tell a friend for me, will ya? Thank you again, and let's chat soon. Bye!